Moving on now, South Africa says President Cyril Ramaphosa is no longer invited to the G7 summit amid boycott threats from Washington, a message reportedly relayed by Paris. Now, South Africa, a regular guest at past G7 summits, said the French embassy in Pretoria had communicated the decision to the government about 2 weeks ago. Responding to these claims, France's Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot has said the country did not yield to any pressure in its decision not to invite South Africa to the G7 summit in June. However, he added the move was to streamline the guest list, including Kenya, instead to help with the preparations.
We have always relied on South Africa, and we respect the important role it plays in international affairs. As far as the G7 is concerned, we chose to invite Kenya to Evian in recognition of the work we are doing together to prepare the Africa Forward Summit, the Africa-France Summit, that will take place on May 11th and 12th in Nairobi. We did not give in to any pressure. Rather, we made a choice consistent with our decision to keep the G7 streamlined and focused on geo-economic issues.
Meanwhile, the South African president later clarified there had been no pressure from any country, whether the United States or another, based on the information he has. France had announced earlier it will host the leaders of India, South Korea, Brazil and Kenya at the summit to be held in Evian-les-Bains in the east of France. Relations between Washington and Pretoria have been stranded over a range of issues, from South Africa's genocide case against Israel to US President Donald Trump's disputed claims that white Africans are being persecuted. Trump has clashed repeatedly with the South African government, imposing 30% tariffs on its export and boycotting a G20 summit in Johannesburg last November.
Death.
For more on this, our correspondent Calden Ongmu has sent us this report from Johannesburg.
The diplomatic relations between Pretoria and Washington deteriorated since Trump returned to White House last year. He has falsely accused South Africa of genocide against white farmers, and he's not happy with the country's foreign policy. He announced that he will not allow South Africa to take part at the G20, and now he's making sure to isolate South Africa from every big international event. South Africa's presidency spokesperson confirmed to WION that, falling under US pressure, France disinvited Cyril Ramaphosa from the G7 guest list, even though Ramaphosa later clarified that the country was not being snubbed by G20 over invitation, as it is not a member state. French officials also denied excluding South Africa from the list of invitees to the G7 Leaders Summit in June due to pressure from Washington, saying Kenya had been invited instead, ahead of President Emmanuel Macron's visit there later this year. This is Calden Ongmu from Johannesburg, South Africa for WION World is One.